If you are tired of feeling squishy, then check out this Renegade build because it will turn you to an immortal damage machine. This is not your common glass cannon build. Instead, it will offer very high sustain, lots of damage, lots of CCs and interrupts, which means you will kill most mobs before they can even touch you. With a mix of conditions and power damage, you will also be able to solo most champions and bounties without any problems. So if this sounds good to you, buckle up as I break down the build step by step and show you how to use this build to dominate your enemies. And if you want to see this build in action, stick around to the end as I show you some gameplay footage for this amazing build in various situations. Starting with the gear, we have a full set of celestial armor with trapper runes. We have a mace, axe and short bow, all of them are viper, and for the sigils we are using malice and draining in both weapon sets. For the trinkets we have a full set of celestial and we have a relic of resistance. You must craft the trapper runes and you cannot buy them from the trading post. And to do that, you must buy the recipe, which is very cheap from the trading post, and you will need to have an armor smith or a leather worker or a tailor that is at least level 400. You can buy the superior sigil of draining from the Nohawk Mastery vendor, and for that you will need the Nohawk language mastery. The vendor is right besides Order of Whispers waypoint, which is in Tangled Depths. To buy it you will need 2 gold and 250 leyline crystals, which is the currency for the Tangled Depths map. You can also buy them in Waldus' Vault from the Heroics Notary vendor, and you will find them in the Heart of Stone's recipes. This will cost 20 silvers and 75 proof of heroics. If you don't have proof of heroics already, just go to the first tab here and exchange whatever you have to get proof of heroics. And before you can buy the sigil from this vendor, you must have the Provisions Master ability fully maximized in Waldus' Vault. In the description below, I will also show you other options to get cheaper and easier gear if the ones you see right now are hard for you. And I also have another guide that shows you how to gear up any character from scratch very easily and quickly using exotic and ascended gear that are stat selectable. The link for it will be in the description below. For the traits we have Salvation 2, 1, 1, and then Corruption 2, 2, 2, and Renegade 2, 3, 1. For the legends, we have Legendary Renegade stance and Legendary Demon stance. For the food, we will use Scoop of Mint Berry, and for the utility, we will use Master Tuning Crystals. Now let's explain how the build works. Your CCs and interrupts are one of the most important factors in this build. Dark Razor Daring will keep applying daze to enemies in its radius. You also have your Short Bow 5, which will knock enemies down, and on your Mace Axe, your Axe 5 will pull enemies towards it, and on your Demon stance, you have Call to Anguish, which will also leap and pull enemies towards its landing position. So you have multiple CCs with this build. This will work very well with Superior Sigil of Draining because it will heal you and steal life every time you interrupt enemies. And it doesn't have an internal cooldown against normal mobs, and even against champions with Break Bar, it will still work very often. And then in the Salvation trait line, we have the Master trait that will also heal us when we blind, immobilize or CC enemies. And from the Adapt trait, we will apply blind to the enemies as we use our healing skill. Another very important boon for this build will be resistance, because this will give you a lot of heals per second. And from the Grandmaster trait in Corruption, every time we do Invoke Torment, we are going to apply resistance. Invoke Torment will be an effect that will happen when we swap legends when we are in combat, and so this will give us resistance every time we swap legends. And then the strike damage we take will be reduced by 20% when we have resistance, and we will get extra resistance anytime we are using any of our demon legend skills. Because we are using Relic of Resistance, when we use our healing skill, we will get some resistance. And so with those things combined, you will have a very high uptime of resistance, which will give you a lot of heals and it will reduce the damage you take. So the CCs you will do and the resistance will be one of the main contributing factors to your sustain, and it will help you a lot in the fights. Also from this Grandmaster trait, we will apply protection anytime we use any of our warband members. However, you must be in its radius, otherwise you will not get it. Also from the Grandmaster trait in Invocation, we will heal anytime we are using any of our legend skills. The build will also do plenty of damage. Mace Axe will be your main weapon that you will try to use most of the time. Your auto attack will apply poison and torment. Mace 2 will apply a lot of burning, and Axe 5 will also give us some torment. Short bow will be very good anytime you are fighting multiple mobs that are spread around, because a lot of your skills will pierce. Your auto attack will apply bleeding. Skill 2 will open a portal that fire multiple arrows that will also pierce. Skill 3 will do the same thing, but it will apply torment, and again those those arrows will pierce, and skill 4 will hit in radius and it will do a lot of burning and slow. Skill 5 will knock down and it will also do some burning. And in the demon stance, your elite is very powerful. When you activate it, it will keep pulsing torment around it like this. And if you use any of your weapon skills except your auto attack, you will do even more torment. The downside will be the upkeep, which will take 6 points. And so it's not a skill you can just leave all the time, and you will have to use it wisely and manage your energy. We will also do 120 condition damage, and we will have the duration of all the damaging conditions increased by 10%. From the Renegade trait line, we will have a very powerful effect called Callous Fervor. For each stack, this will give us 2% condition damage and strike damage, and it will also increase our lifesteal damage by 2%. And you will get this effect when you critically strike an enemy or hit them from the flank or behind. And so you will find yourself with the maximum 5 stacks pretty much all the time. And from the Adapt trait, Fury will also increase our blade duration by 25%. And then from this trait, we will also have an extra 10% critical chance. And if our endurance is full, which means if we didn't dodge often, which you wouldn't need to do with this build, you will get an extra 33% critical chance. So just from this trait, you will get about a 43% critical chance if you did not dodge. This will also give us Vigor when we get Fury, and the Vigor Bone will help fill up our endurance bar faster, which means even if you needed to dodge, this bar will fill up faster. And from the Grandmaster trait, this will give us a lot of might, and you will find yourself pretty much with 25 stacks of might all the time. So now let's put everything we have learned together, and I will show you how to use the build effectively. Renegade stance is your main stance, and the most important skill here is Dark Razor Daring. Use it anytime it is available. Mace Axe is your main weapon, and from here, your Mace 2 and your Axe 5 are the most important skills, and you will use them anytime they are available. So basically, Dark Razor, Axe 5, and Mace 2, and then repeat over and over and over. Only if you had some energy to spare, you can also use Ice Razor. This will apply some extra damage and it will be helpful overall. Completely ignore Razor Claw Rage, it's not very good for open wall. And of course, use your heal if you needed it. It is a very powerful heal. You will only switch to your Demon stance if you needed the energy, or if you want to benefit from the resistance from this trait and get some heals when you swap legends, or if you need some cleanses, because from this trait, it will remove one damaging condition when you use any of those skills. The one I would recommend here to use will be Call to Anguish. This will be very good CC, it will pull enemies towards you, which also means it will most likely interrupt some of them, which will give you a lot of heals because of the sigil and because of the traits on Salvation. And whenever your Renegade stance is available, go back to it immediately. On your short bow, your auto attack, skill number 2 and your skill number 3 are the most important ones because they will pierce. You will use 5 if you needed the CCs to break bar, and you will only use your short bow 4 if you have extra energy to spare. You will not use F2 or F3 or F4 at all. One of the weaknesses with this build will be Condi removal, but for me most of the time the heals I will get from the traits and such will out heal the conditions. However, if it became a problem, we can do a couple of changes. The first one, we can go to Salvation and we can choose this trait instead. This will remove a condition when you dodge. If you needed more cleanses, you can take this food I'm showing on the screen, which will also remove a condition when you dodge. So this way you remove 2 conditions when you dodge instead of 1. Another good option for food to use for Condi cleanse is the one you see in the screen now. This will remove a condition when you use your heal. If you want to be even more careful with cleanses and you need it more, you can remove Sigil of Malice and instead put Sigil of Generosity. This will end up removing one condition from you every 6 seconds, and it will transfer it to the enemies instead, which will also help with the damage. But if you felt like your sustain is fine and you wanted to do more damage, I will show you a few changes now. In Corruption, we can choose the top trait here, which will make our Torment apply 10% more damage. And with this build setup, you will be doing a lot of Torment, so this will do a lot more damage. Also, we can have the last Master trait here, which will increase your condition duration you will apply to the enemies by 15%, but also the conditions that will be applied to you will have 10% more condition duration. And in the Renegade, we can have this trait, which will increase our bleeding by 25%. Another change you can do is in the Relic, and we can use Relic of the Fractal, which will add a lot to our damage. But again, remember that resistance is going to be very important for this build for heals and sustain, so don't change it unless you are very confident that your sustain will be still good. Now you have everything you need to know to become a wrecking machine and dominate the world of Tyria. If you have any questions, fire away in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible. And if you enjoyed this guide, hit the like button and subscribe for more great guides. I still have lots of builds and other guides waiting to be released, so make sure to hit the notification bell so you never miss any of those guides as I make them. And now I will leave you with some footage to see the power of this build in action. Thank you very much for watching and I will see you in the next guide.